Everybody, and I can
This
assume
call is
that
now being.
I assume they are, distinguished colleagues, research professors, and perhaps, the faculty members and the graduate students, postdocs, and whatever senior and maybe even bachelor students. So first of all, I think put it simply, we are in 2025, yet at the very beginning of technology transformation. I just had a talk a couple of days ago with colleagues in US research institutions specializing on cybersecurity. And I remember during our conversation, I mentioned that in my view, we are at the beginning of where we were in 1945 with the transistor. When transistor first came up, of course, following the electromagnetic relays and electronic tubes. So the transistor with the radio and miniaturization, eventually very large-scale integration, was a transition to new era of technology. And I use this example, 1945, because I believe today we are yet again at the very beginning of technology transformation. And already with the rise of AI, what we see is certain degree of skepticism, or even, well, of course, technologies, myself included, we are very passionate about the technological evolution, but there are also valuable reasons to kind of speculate philosophically on how far, in particular, the artificial intelligence will or may or basically is going as we speak today. Now, all these transformations, technological transformations, are bringing yet new challenges to technology. And I assume most of the colleagues, regardless of the field of studies, some may not be computer networking colleagues, but even if you are sociologists or psychologists, you may find the cybersecurity a subject related to your field. Fundamentally, Ethernet was built to connect devices, computational devices, or even I remember back in London in 1990, or actually even before that in Sussex, we were then building a computer manufacturing, or simply put, computer-aided engineering platform, when we had a set of master-slave computers and some robotic hand and CNC machine with some PLCs, Texas Instruments and Siemens. And we were trying to set up the automated kind of a process where the carbon heads for electro machines were actually built almost automatically, starting with the AutoCAD and then your DXF file to CNC machine. And eventually, you see the belt running and all this PLC flag working. So that was 1989. 1989, for some younger colleagues, this may be, seem far, behind, but yet again, it was the beginning of industrial automation. And then, of course, we have seen rise of computer integrated manufacturing, which kind of already incorporated business aspects of business information systems apart from manufacturing industrial systems. But all of this was built on computer network infrastructures. And we see evolution of networks from novel networks to Ethernet, and of course, then what we see, TCP/IP stack and Ethernet stack, and of course now software-defined networks and next generation, or what we call a fast Ethernet. And yet again, many people of course, non-experts, not non-practitioners would think that Ethernet is a kind of like a virtual cloud or something. Not too many people appreciate the infrastructure, what it is. And fundamentally, Ethernet is a building full of servers and supercomputers and the computer storage and data centers like Amazon, like Facebook, like Google, and Samsung, and many others. And so we see that actually Ethernet has evolved from starting from Mosaic website, of course, when you had index, basically database and search. Now with Google and other technologies, of course, Ethernet have basically exploded and started to connect ubiquitously and in pervasive manner almost anybody on the planet 24/7. In addition, in computer architecture, computer hardware and software architecture, we see evolution that actually the microchips computational capacity been increasing, by Moore's law exponentially. And, yet again, Bill Gates, when he
excuse me, so sorry to interrupt. Do we have you shared any PPT? Because we haven't seen anything.
Abhishek, I have no PowerPoint presentation. I will start this is the first meeting, because I think I can give you reference to a couple of things. But
all right.
The purpose of my kind of conversation, I like to create conversation, is to generate ideas and discussions. Because the PowerPoint, there are many. I can show you 75 slides, and I will lose the audience after 4th slide. So PowerPoint, anybody can Google PowerPoints, and you can have 55,000 hours PowerPoint. But I like to create the intellectual discussion, and that is.
Dr. Edko, I must compliment for this a learned personal and personality like you, who only can judge that the PowerPoint presentation is in the present scenario. After 4 and 5 slides, you are very much correct in that form that people start moving here and there. Once we are having interactive session, it will be more active. It's a great thing, sir.
Of course. Thank you so much, Professor Rai.
I'm from India. I'm from India, Professor Nurag.
Very well, and I appreciate very much your kind comment, and of course, very reasonable argument, because we all are educators, and we all work with students at different levels, young, mature, whatever, postdocs, but fundamentally, coming back to rise of AI, we are at the frontiers where the human intelligence is facing artificial intelligence. And there are a lot of philosophical papers and technological papers where people speculate, how far that technology could go. Now, I like to kind of, the introduction of my talk is to kind of make sure that everybody gets on board. So I don't leave, if there are people in audience who are not computer or cybersecurity experts, so they appreciate that dimension of urgency. So first of all, with the evolution of AI, what we see that the AI, starting with now generative AI, and we have explainable AI, and now we are already beginning into looking into a reasoning AI, and eventually a super intelligence, artificial intelligence. Now, the only difference between human intelligence and artificial intelligence is that humans, we have a learning curve, and everybody, as a parent, as a grandfather, as an educator, you see when you have a child in the kindergarten and going to a elementary school, and then secondary or whatever, college, university. So there are years, and there is a progression where these children, our children, your children, are learning how to learn. And of course, machines do the same thing, but the speed of learning with the AI is uncomparable. You know, if coming back to computer architecture, I remember in Montreal, I was working on Monsoon 8-stage supercomputing architecture, and we were then studying performance, basically queuing network and stochastic processes, and trying to figure out what are these criteria for computer performance, you know, making sure that now what we have, and we are sitting, everybody has a laptop or workstation, wherever you are, or smartphone or tablet. So our computational devices are much more sophisticated than the very early computers. And perhaps some of the smart devices today could be almost computationally compared to supercomputing or computing devices many years ago. Now, that computational power is exciting, but at the same time, it creates opportunities. In other words, and in addition, these devices are marketed so everybody can buy smartphone. I remember being in the South Pacific, working with the Japanese colleague on ICT project. We were building a satellite hub on the island that would connect all this island across Pacific Rim, which is a very large area, and the only connectivity they had is a under ocean cable or satellite communication. And so the plan was to build a satellite center that would connect Yokohama, Tokyo satellites with all the small islands, and they would have also two applications. One was e-learning, and another one was telemedicine, because the medical service and, of course, access to proper or best quality of education is not always as easy as maybe in Boston or London or Cambridge or Oxford or any other places. So I think with this technology, we have seen that Ethernet actually has become an essential part of the economic sustainability of country. In other words, a lot of fundamental industries and businesses and academic institutions are entirely dependent on cyberspace. The cyberspace, of course, for all of us is a ubiquitous Ethernet with all the interconnected devices. Now, first of all, if you look at as Ethernet was evolving, we were concerned about quality of service provision. We wanted to make sure that you can see me, I can see you, you can hear me, so we have a multimedia communication, no jitters, no delays, no network losses. And in addition, we also were concerned making sure that that quality of service is actually almost perfect. Now, even today, some of us, I'll be honest with you, even here in North America, we have Ethernet glitches. We don't have always access to Ethernet because, of course, it's something that all is subject to weather, etc., and there could be mechanical or infrastructure malfunction or any other reasons. So the Ethernet is not a panacea. It's something that we have to build, and it is evolving gradually. Now, in addition, with the 4G and 5G, and of course now the 6th generation of networking, what we are looking at is to basically increase that communication capacity. And of course, all this signaling with the wireless communication creates other aspects, of life. And that is, of course, outside of my expertise, but it could be discussion for some next talk on medical and maybe philosophical dimensions. Now, quality of service was an umbrella, but as technology was evolving, and we're looking at maybe 15 years ago, then suddenly people started to be concerned with the cyber security, or maybe it was not even considered as a cyber security, might be a virus and malware and ransomware, and all this evolution of all this kind of different cyber attacks that have been evolving with the technology. And so, of course, the computer experts created different consortium and are working together, like, computer emergency response teams, CERTs all over the planet. And of course, there are the national computer security forums in every country, US, Canada, UK, India, and Asia, and all over the world, of course, Europe and Australasia and Australia. So Africa, of course. So I think this is where it is so important to kind of make sure that we as educators also, apart from solving technical problems and collaborating with industry experts, that we also educate our younger colleagues or students to become savvy, technology savvy, so they have proper education how to learn. And as we just mentioned, eventually the information what we show today in PowerPoint is obsolete maybe next year. But the principles of thinking and investigation will stay forever. And I think that is important. So coming back to that evolution of quality of service to cybersecurity, cybersecurity had become another umbrella. It's almost like a Samsung library in Suwon. If anybody went to South Korea, you see all these multiple layers of building. And of course, that cybersecurity is now the most essential for any organization and any institutions. Now, I will kind of very gently remember taking course in Syracuse in New York on a SEAT computer security network. I remember we were looking at all these very specific attacks, the buffer attacks, SQL injection, and so many. I mean, and of course, nowadays we have yet again labs that are evolving. Security labs, what we had, say, 10, 15 years ago, are now almost obsolete. Because, of course, the technology has evolved, the software has evolved, the hardware has evolved. And with the AI, what many people may not appreciate when they say AI, some people may think, oh, it's intelligence, but where is that intelligence? Well, it's basically computation. And that computation sits on every segment in your networking infrastructure. So you can look at servers, you can look at your data centers, you can look at your routers, gateways, bridges, etc., switches. So this is where AI as a computation is basically sitting on top of IT infrastructure. And that is very important to appreciate for everybody, because if you are at university, I remember then writing my PhD thesis in UK, in Staffordshire, on quality of service provision. I had to work with the IT colleagues and basically kind of get behind the scenes with, negotiating with the director, that I can see the infrastructure, which everybody will agree, as a faculty member, none of us, or very few, have access to IT, because of course IT department keeps the infrastructure safe. And with the cybersecurity labs, I remember in Iowa, we had a graduate course on cybersecurity. Very first lab, it was a domain server attack. The students, after 15 minutes in the lab, they already they shut down the DNS server at the university. And we had a rector and vice rector running to the lab. And what happened, Professor Babalak? What happened? I said, well, we have very good students. So, of course, that suggests that infrastructure that we have and everybody that you have, wherever you are, is vulnerable. And, of course, as educators and researchers and scholars, we are fascinated by pushing that edge of innovation, development, and advancing technologies. And of course, I love to work with brilliant students at any level. And of course, and colleagues, because, brilliance generate brilliance. It's so easy because we speak the same language. But if we have beginners, newcomers to the field, it is also important to develop pedagogical kind of methodologies, how to make sure they don't get deprived or they don't get less education than anybody else. So I think this is, of course, subject of education and educational pedagogies. But with the AI, in particular in cybersecurity, what we see yet is yet again another wave, almost like parallel, when you say, okay, we are developing tools, like we have open source tools, and everything is available for blue and red teams. And of course, these teams, one generates the cyber attack, the blue team generates the defenses. And so you have all these scenarios that you can create. Back in Virginia, they have a atomic power plant, which is sitting right next to universities. It's not functional as an atomic power plant, but it has its own infrastructure. And there's plenty of IoT sensors and very complex infrastructures. And I remember with my colleagues, we work on a project, a cybersecurity project, government project, and we were discussing issues like even a human factor. Now, in this conversation that we have, or maybe my, if you like, presentation or discourse, all we have is basically you are connected. I see on my screen that there are 162 others, and you see me, you see my video, and of course, everybody is listening. Now, as soon as we start to communicate and talk, so eventually we would have to have a session like this is session for my talk, then there will be session for another talk. So there is always what you call a structure on communication. And yet again, we see that in the OSI of TCP stack, starting from the very top presentation to physical layer. Now, with the cybersecurity, all these layers could be compromised. And so this is where it becomes very interesting. And in addition, you have now AI embedded smartphones. Now, before I go any further, I just want to ask, anybody has a smartphone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, why do you call it smartphone?
Because it has computational capability on the end device. That's all.
Okay, any other opinion? Thank you.
Because it makes a human interaction with a device which can perform many tasks and computations, and also it can give the extreme bordage of knowledge and also make an interaction between the networks and the global all connections.
Excellent. Thank you. So would you agree that actually all these comments that you make confirm that a smartphone is basically a computational device with, say, certain degree of sophistication of computation? Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Come on.
Okay, so then we are now yet again in that discussion, what does it mean smart? Well, my next question would be, can anybody steal your phone?
Because based on the previous computations done by the user, right, it adapts somehow. For example, I can show you an example. If you are typing text to somebody, right, and usually you are typing their name or something, so next time when you are starting typing, so possibly this will start suggesting you rather than you type it in full, kind of. So those kind of intelligence, it adapts by the passage of uses, right? That's why maybe it is called a smart.
Excellent, Karthik. Yeah, so, but my question was, can anybody steal, take
Yes,
away?
sir. Yes, sir,
Why?
they can steal because
Well,
there are many types of loopholes in in any type of devices, whether it is a smartphone, whether it is a computer, whether it is a tablet, whether it is a smartwatch. There will be a loophole where a victim or a target will do a small mistake to securing their device. Either they are installing any application which is not useful, either they are using any type of modded applications, either they are clicking on a phishing link, either they are doing any type of mistakes. And another way I can explain something, that our mobile applications are being secured by many of the softwares and developers, but we can root the device and make it more efficient way to break the device and use more powerful outcomes about that. So for doing that, we can use many type of researches and expertise. After learning as a beginner, I am still learning, and it's a very honorful conversation with an polymath like you and a cyber security expert. I am very passionate about this, and I will be honored to hear your answer, sir.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you. So let us continue. So first of all, that degree of smartness is yet again at the very, very beginning. In other words, if we're getting some disturbance, a lot of people are interacting, so let's just pause. Excellent. So in other words, that smartphone, regardless of the very latest phone, in my view, I think that they are not smart enough. Smartphone will be phone that, let's say somebody takes your phone, and that phone automatically, as it is taken by somebody else's hand, just by the palm or the fingertips, will automatically shut down and basically being disabled. Of course, you may have seen this kind of devices with the, spy movies and all this, like Mission Impossible, that you see all this, the devices kind of almost like destroy itself after 5 seconds. But it's a concept, and the concept is, if you have, of course, if you are a student or faculty member, and even myself, I'm a researcher, I'm a professor, scholar, I don't think I have any top secret on my computer. Even if anybody get access to my computer, they will need 10,000 years to study all these books and all these papers that I read. But if I would be an army general, or if I would be a government official at the very highest place where there are information on top security, then of course anybody getting access to my device is basically critical to my career and critical to the safety of the nation. So coming back to that, fundamentally cybersecurity has 3 what we call pyramid pillars. Number 1 is, and it's called CIA, not like CIA, Central Intelligence Agency, but CIA as confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And of course, from the standpoint of view, when you send email and we communicate, so our communication or our emails are encrypted. So this is cryptography, encryption, decryption, and of course we see RSA codes and all this cryptographic codes, which is very large course on its own. But first of all, that confidentiality basically is essential. When you write email, it's your privacy, and everybody has right to our own privacy. That's a fundamental human right. Now, number 2 is integrity. In other words, if you write an email and you say, hello, Mr. Smith, I'm glad we've met. So you expect that Mr. Smith will read that email and say, thank you, I was glad to meet with you. But that email would not be changed. The content of your message would not be, God forbid, insulting or whatever, malicious. So that integrity of data, and now we can go to databases, medical records, educational records, and very large contract records. So this integrity is fundamental. And of course, all this information is transmitted, processed, and stored in Ethernet communication infrastructure in cyberspace. So this is very essential to make sure that that information, that resource, digital resource in that infrastructure stays confidential and it's in full integrity. And number 3, that is available. In other words, when anybody authorized has and authenticated has access to download or view or read or modify so they can access. So this information is available. So that is a C, confidentiality, integrity I, and availability A, CIA. Now, of course, this is a very fundamental concept in cybersecurity, and it's very important that we understand that. But with, for example, with the access to information, we have that what we call authorization and authentication. So authentication and authorization. So first of all, I am invited speaker. So Abhishek and his colleagues have basically authorized me to talk with you. And at the same time, we have been communicating. So I have been authenticated. So the Abhishek know that Professor Babulak is Professor Babulak, that I'm not Mr. Smith pretending to be Professor Babulak. And so that is also very important. And of course, if you look at your children and your younger colleagues, and of course, as a parents, as educators, we are concerned with the social impact of all these wonderful communication technologies. Because you have small children who say, I have 5,500 friends on internet. Well, how many friends you have or I have? I can count them on my fingers, you know, like when I say friends. So, of course, that social impact of technology allows people to interconnect, and anybody could be anybody on internet. You know, you could be 70 years old gentleman, but you could present yourself to someone as a 5-year-old girl or boy or whatever. So these are, yet again, ethical issues, issues of professionalism that are also part of, I would say, cybersecurity. Because with the AI, in particular, generative AI, so when you are a hacker, say somebody may choose that path, and to become a hacker, actually, it's a profession. It's nothing wrong, you know, to be a hacker if you are ethical hacker. But if you are using your skill and knowledge to abuse, to steal, to incriminate, then of course you are subject, and you could be subject to criminal investigation. And we see this all over. This is an ongoing battle that we are just yet at the very beginning. So I think as an important fact is all these computer hackers are learning, first of all, programming. They have to be very skillful in programming. They have to understand Linux. They have to understand all these operating systems and hardware architectures. So they are basically now with the open source are available, of course, the IP address. If I may ask, everybody, of course, most of you appreciate what the IP address is. And there's, of course, MAC address, so media access address. So every computer has its identity. And as long as we connect to Ethernet, we are actually opening gates for Ethernet to connecting to us. With the smartphones, I remember back in Shanghai, we were giving presentation on smart TV then with Samsung that came up. And Shanghai works very heavily on broadcasting multimedia. And of course, this is, you know, if you look at China, everybody politically may disagree or agree, whatever, but technologically, they are pushing the edge. A lot of my colleagues in Tokyo, in Japan, professors, would say that now, before I go any further, anybody know how many Chinese professors working in Japan as professors? How many do you think? 5, 10, 15?
That must be a bigger number, I hope.
Much bigger number, of course,
Yes.
because all these Chinese brilliant students go to do their PhDs in Japan. They speak Japanese like Japanese, and of course they become professors. So, and you see, you know, so, and of course, now with this globalization, we cannot say that, you know, everybody can go to any country and you can learn the language. I have learned many languages, not really learning, to be honest. I just been maybe gifted. I look at it as a music. So I'm still looking at Hindu, and I hope I can touch on Hindi and Urdu. So next conversation, I can have some couple of phrases in, like, you know, in Hindi and say namaste.
Definitely, sir.
And address you in your language. It'd be great.
Namaste.
Namaste. So, so you
Uh,
see, now
uh,
let's look at just that the way how we communicate. Now imagine having a computer, a smartphone, next generation smartphones, that when you come to Canada, you don't speak French, but suddenly, of course, now we have translators and of course, automatic translators, but everything will just become available for you. So you would not really even need anybody. You would be getting by with just small device. And of course, this is the beginning of that computational power or computational sophistication that these devices can communicate with us. But yet again, as soon as you let somebody, or as soon as you communicate with someone, you are establishing a channel of communication. And that channel of communication is a platform where, again, you may have just opened a couple of gates for cybersecurity or cyber attacks. Now, the definition or title of these attacks, there are hundreds of them, but of course, every computer system, every operating system, like Microsoft, like Mac, like IBM, like Unix, Linux, they all have their, if you like, defenses, which are built in that operating system. And if you buy a new computer today, what you see that actually, as you install, say, Windows 11, then you get all these new patches and updates and updates and upgrades and upgrades. Of course, because number one, the architecture, and even your computer, if you just bought it yesterday, it already has a malfunction fundamentally on the microchip. Because if you look at the AMD or Intel or other chips, so in the manufacturing process, during the burning process, there are already imperfections. As these imperfections are in semiconductor, on the silicon level. And of course, all these hardware malfunction that are basically almost impossible to prevent because they are during the manufacturing process. So they have to be compensated by software. And so you have these hardware developers and software developers, and they're all competing. And if something goes wrong, the hardware developers will say software people didn't appreciate the hardware. The hardware people will say, well, they didn't appreciate us. They haven't mastered the hardware. So I think any computer science, any cybersecurity expert has to learn computer architecture, semiconductors, and fundamental of physics and mathematics. And of course, in addition, they would have to learn programming, logic, and pick up a particular language. But beyond that, even programming with the AI may become obsolete. But what the AI, and some people may say, may not get yet to that level is what we do. We reason, we have intuition, we have imagination, we have, basically the human capacity or human brain is perhaps most sophisticated supercomputer that you may find on the planet. And very often to my students, I say, how to become successful in cyber career, if you like, today, is basically to turn on the supercomputer. And that means that you basically start learning. And the good practice is, in my case, I feel like I'm at the very beginning of learning. I'm just beginning to learn. I have learned already formally many, many years, but I feel like yet again, it's not enough. And so that is wonderful nature of this communication technologies and AI and all these technologies and other sciences, human, social, and engineering sciences. So that's wonderful. So let's just come back to that AI evolution. With the AI, I already mentioned, the AI sits on top of IT infrastructures. So if you want to secure, say, your university network, and I don't know, we may have colleagues from industry, from government, we may have colleagues connecting to our session from all different sectors. So you can look at the medical environment, you can look at the military environment, you can look at anything. Wherever you have that infrastructure, cyber critical infrastructures. So these are fundamentally nodes where there is what we call a new way of shadow AI. Shadow AI is almost, you may think of it as invisible AI that sits quietly, and you can maybe compare it or look at some analogies like a malware that sits on your hardware and wait for that particular moment when you can execute. Or it's basically a computational capability that sits on the gateway, on the router, on central node, and is basically available or collecting quietly information. And now, of course, looking at the very latest research, we see that some people start to speculate with the quantum computing. The quantum computing is basically something that eventually, even the cryptography that we have, the most secure codes, RSA codes, may be broken by quantum computer, because that computational power is incredible. And so my question is for you, would you see, or do you see any eventual kind of parallel with the AI and quantum computing? Mind you, this is a philosophical discussion, but can anybody see any parallel between quantum computing and AI? And I will explain. Quantum computing is yet again a very specific hardware in a very specific environment. And of course, there are physical conditions for quantum to exist, which of course are not as available in the form of PC or smartphone or any small device yet. But technologically speaking, philosophically, when we look at transistor in 1945, we couldn't imagine that we would have a smartphone that is technically almost like supercomputer ENIAC from 1945. So question to you, and maybe this is where we can start a little bit of interactive session. So I pause talking. I already spoke quite enough. And we can get almost like a question answers, or you may bring your ideas and we can elaborate. So if you agree, I start with this hypothetical question. Do you see eventually AI with quantum computing on the crossroads? Anybody
That's great.
can.
That's great, sir. We are having already Dr. Anurag Roy waiting to discuss something with you. Dr. Anurag, is there something?
Yes, sir, definitely. Thank you, Abhishek, sir, and thank you, Babulak, sir. It's a really very informative session so far, what I have learned from you. And very frankly, I must accept that initially I was not interested. I have just joined your session with my iPhone. But later, when you have started your conversation, your communication, and your technical capabilities, then I opened up my laptop.
You're very
Now
kind.
That's great, sir.
So, sir, I have one question. Maybe in the coming, when the other participants will ask you question, I just want to understand about the 6G technology, because 6G is something which is going to be happening in another 2 or 3 years. It is in process. So when we are talking about the quantum, and when you're talking about the AI, how the 6G is going to, is 6G will be the part of the quantum and the AI, or 6G will be something different? Thank you.
First of all, this is the fundamental concept is you have to look at the hardware and software. And now with that computational capacity, what we see already, I just read a couple of papers and actually working with colleagues who are speculating, or physicists who are looking into quantum computing. So there are, and IBM already came up with the quantum computer. So now, of course, on the AI side, we all agree that actually the artificial intelligence, what it is, if you say, you know, ChatGPT and all this new generative and reasoning AI. So that is basically a very powerful computation that requires a lot of power, a lot of energy. And so what the AI developers are doing now, like Google and Amazon and Microsoft and all these Samsung and major players around the world, are basically buying atomic power plants because it requires so much energy. Now, you know, I have basically brought to that, you know, light that there is already speculative discussion on quantum computing, because what happens, let's say, with the AI, with the generative AI, and of course, eventually super intelligence, you may have a cyber attacks that will be able to basically go to data center and keep copy or keep whatever, all this information somewhere apart from that particular data center or even within the data center, but you administrators may not notice. And because the cryptography, it is so difficult yet, or computationally so expensive to decrypt. So eventually when the quantum computing becomes available, that particular agent, if you like, agentic artificial intelligence, may be able to kind of bring on board that quantum computational power to decrypt that information in 5, 4, 10 years from now. And so this is where, you know, my answer to your question is that yes, eventually what we'll see is the potential for that interaction, which will be yet again from the intelligence systems, AI-driven systems, to interact with the quantum computer or quantum computing computational system. Eventually, what we call today quantum computer, in my view, tomorrow it will be considered as a quantum computational or quantum capable computational device.
Okay.
So this is my view. And of course, at the moment, what is also very important is to look at how we actually define that fundamental defensive engineering. In other words, how do we build, you know, everybody, regardless of the sector and infrastructure type, how these cyber experts are building their defensive engineering projects. In other words, what is the strategic plan for cybersecurity? Now, this is what I would like to initiate at this point. That, you know, I know India is going through technological transformation, and, you know, some people say the Silicon Valley have shifted to Delhi or Bangalore. Yeah, and you
Yes.
Indian colleagues may surely agree with me. But, you know, there's so much of technological advancements, and I know there's a lot of brilliant colleagues. I have a lot of colleagues and friends. So I believe that India is yet a future, or maybe it is already a Silicon Valley that will compete, that will, you know, of course, it's already on the edge, but there's so much potential. And one of the greatest assets that you colleagues in India in particular have is student population. And of course, all this Asia, you have these brilliant young people, you know, keen to learn. And so I would love to eventually, I don't know how, but I would love to eventually, perhaps someday even visit, but, you know, work with you on that pedagogical strategic plans up and with the industry and finance industry and government. Because what happens, you see, and I give you an example, every country, economical power, and of course, US, Canada, UK, India, Asia, Africa, Australasia, all over the planet, all the continents. The essential part is that this cyber infrastructure that we are all so dependent is secure, reliable, and we come back to confidentiality, integrity, and availability. But as technologies, it would be naive to think that technology will slow down. Let's say we have a happy infrastructure, and, you know, Dr. Rai, you may agree that, when you talk to your vice president or chairman, they say, we have a secure university campus. And you may look at them and say, yes, today, or maybe this morning you did, but not afternoon. In the afternoon, it's too late.
Exactly. You are very correct.
Yeah.
Sir, thank you for very, you have explained each point very clearly. I will definitely, because we have a session, international conference we are going to happen at Sharjah University, Greater Noida. It's near, it's NCR, National Capital of Region. The capital of India is Delhi. We have a university set up at the, and definitely I will request Dr. Abhishek Gupta to have a complete detail of you so that we can invite you for this very informative session with our students and with our faculty and everyone who is in the working on this particular area. Thank you very much, sir.
Dr.
Thank
Roy,
you.
already we are into discussion with the professor to have a session or workshop in nearby university of your university. So I would be sharing the details very soon during the
Thank you,
end of
sir.
this December.
Thank you very much. Thank
Sir,
you. Thank you.
we have many more people to discuss with you, Professor. Rahul is over there. He is into the queue. Rahul, do you have any question to discuss? Debarata Datta?
I have many questions, but as you know that I am basically senior nuclear scientist, retired from the Bhabha Atomic Research Center, and one of the expert in AI in the world, and presently working on the quantum computing. As Professor Babulak mentioned, that the AI and quantum computing, yes, they are always existing, and we call that it is the artificial general intelligence. When AI is mixed up with the quantum computing, we call that technology as the artificial general intelligence. As far as cybersecurity data is concerned, everything is data driven. So if that the data is transformed into the quantum computing mode in the form of the qubits, then we have an advantage of the entanglement property of the qubits, which can multiplex that is so much of data, so that by different kind of machine learning technique, for example, today we are working with the quantum physics informed quantum neural network, and that is very much applicable for the cyber security, because in the cyber domain the data are complex in nature, they are to be entangled. So my question to the Professor Babulak is that if we go towards the development of an algorithm which will develop the quantum computing data not by amplitude encoding, not by phase encoding, not by basis encoding, but by encoding with the entanglement itself, using the magnetic spin of the system, then I think that it will be a very good technology for attacking the cyber part using the quantum computing. And as on today, by Qiskit platform, we have a variational quantum eigensolver or variational quantum classifier. Using that technique and optimizer like Adam or Kobila, we can very well attack the cyber part. So I think that the student community or the faculty community should organize the repeated workshop at their with the invitation of the Professor Babulak to develop this kind of algorithm in many countries around the world. And thank you very much for giving this opportunity. I gave my suggestion that cyber security should be tackled with the AI and quantum, where the juncture will be there, entanglement, and then different kinds of optimization technique using the quantum physics informed quantum neural network, which is a very upcoming algorithm. Okay, thank you.
I agree. Thank you so much. Most very well presented, and congratulations to your excellent research, because it seems that you are really on the cutting edge. And of course, if you look at, so that is basically a quantum resistant security mechanism that, we will look at, cybersecurity. And of course, one of the essential part is that now the computer scientists, including myself, all over the planet, we have to be open-minded, and we have to be willing to learn from physicists, from quantum experts, from other colleagues in different fields of studies, because cybersecurity is completely interdisciplinary field.
Yes.
It would be naive, it would be very naive to think that even the traditional algorithms that, computer programmers or experts, and I be honest, I don't like to consider myself being a programming expert. I am a thinker. I am a system engineer, if you like. So I believe that it is very important to, first of all, look at all these fundamental segments in infrastructures, and also to be able to appreciate what you just mentioned, that connection, that the quantum computing is actually now with the Gen AI working together. So it's becoming a computational system that eventually may be a major core. And who knows, maybe next supercomputer we may build in India. Because, that is what you just mentioned. I kind of like to go a little bit beyond that next step and think of, with that computational power to create a really supercomputer. And that supercomputer would basically be a mastermind for creating cyber defenses. And also maybe creating and mapping all these new generations of cyber attacks. Because one of the things is, I remember some years back, a colleague from Australia asked me, Professor Babulak, what do you see as far as mathematical modeling in cybersecurity? And, to be honest, if you take any administrators, network administrators, or even tools like HP OpenView and Packeteer, and of course, there are new cyber defensive now, enterprise systems. So all this basically have to secure very large infrastructure like a Workday, like educational blackboards, Canvas, Sakai, and all these typical platforms. And never mind the Amazon and Google and all the Samsung enterprise centers. So I think this is where this quantum AI computational technology will become essential part of that infrastructure. So
True. Yes,
thank
true.
you very much.
Very
Thank
true,
you,
sir.
Professor. Thank you, Professor, for giving a lot of insightful thought on the smart cyber security using this recent trend of the quantum techniques. Thank you, sir.
Welcome. You're most welcome. And keep up in good work.
Sure.
We are at the beginning. We are at the beginning.
Yeah, sure.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Datta.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Do we have
Thank you, sir.
do we have any other question to discuss?
والله بس عم خلص كم شغله اللي كنت العب اتعشى خلصت.
Dr. Abhishek, sir, I am looking someone outside of India because we have a participant from so many countries.
Mhm.
I think let's have some words with the participants of other than India.
Right, exactly. Because now actually I'm speaking from the USA. Because I came to States, the Texas, regarding the similar kind of concept and working toward this.
But your main, you are Indian, no? I'm just looking for the.
No, definitely. I am
Knowledge has no
main
boundaries.
engine of the students community from the outside the India. Okay.
Yeah, because we have lucky so many participants are there other than from the Indian origin.
Yeah.
So I request Dr. Abhishek to if somebody is there for other than the India origin or Indian, if they are asking any question, we will love to, because the
Sure.
minds are different, concepts are different. We must appreciate everyone.
Yes.
Abhishek, and also Dr. Ray, if I may, this is the beginning of our conversation. So I think with Abhishek will be kind of like a contact point, and eventually we may evolve and create some other opportunities, because I think technically speaking, this is a conversation for 10,000 hours. Okay? So,
True.
and so
All right. So I feel we have no more questions right now. And if there would be more questions from participants, they can share their inquiries on to the email. Everyone is having my email onto their email box. So whenever you are having any question or any point of discussion you want to have, please do share your questions to me. I'll forward to Professor Edward, and as per his convenient time, he would be loving to answer, because I can see his charm and enthusiasm to interact and to discuss the research going on into this area, into quantum computing with the cybersecurity and the evolution of AI onto the quantum computing. And definitely, because it has been a long journey, and it would be a longer journey into quantum computing. We have come so far into Gen AI era. It has changed the world so drastically into past 2 years, which was not expected to change into this fast growth. So coming into the quantum computing, I don't see that there would be more than 10 years to evolve supercomputer into that power, which can do unsolvable computation so far. And many more things, I believe, into coming couple of years would be feasible to see. And with the evolution of RAG model and multimodal from these big companies and research institutes and universities, we are ready to see many more miracles. I would say miracle definitely, with a lot of computation power. So, which I feel, because we interact with many researchers and experienced researchers and scholars, the lack of common infrastructure or the access of the labs is the thing. Because if we divide, like everyone know, when we are going to the journal publication, the world is divided into three levels: first country, second, and third. Likewise, the universities and the infrastructure availability. So there should be common infrastructure or common availability, or onto the request, of course. So that the things can reach to lower part of the country and far away from the universities also, even into suburban and urban areas and into the villages also, so that researcher don't feel the boundaries of the geo. Everything, because with the evolution of cloud computing and resource allocations, the 6G, like Dr. Roy has mentioned, the 6G purpose is to make the ubiquitous computing and to increase the reach without fail. So the objective of every technology, the IEEE society and all those, is humanity, so that no human can be without the technology. We are working, researchers are working to develop the technology with the humanity into the center of attraction and center of objective. So I hope Professor and his guidance would be always with us, and we'll be having more interactive session with more confined area of the discussion. So I we are already into a discussion with Professor to come on to the some common ground to have a workshop. And hopefully, if we would be aligning, then we'll be inviting everyone into that workshop.
Well, thank you very much, Abhishek, and thank you to all colleagues who contributed to conversation. And of course, there are many colleagues who I would love to talk to, and hopefully we may interact. But I think, in my view, and from also what you just mentioned, is that it is important that every child in your country, in every country on the planet, has access to best quality education. And of course, because what we see, and what I be honest with you, even colleagues in NASA, what we are looking for today is a small child, a boy, a girl, and they could be in the middle of India, in the most remote region of South Pacific, Africa, Australasia, somewhere very, very insignificant almost place. But that particular child may be a future Einstein. Because, what we see now with the AI and that conversation, what we just started, quantum, I love physics. And, I'll be honest with you, I always, like my passion. I give you an example. If I, apart from, taking care of animals and nature, I go to study physics, because physics and mathematics is like a refresher for your mind. It is, if anybody feel tired, you stressed, or you have conflict situation, I encourage you to say, excuse me, give me 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Take a calculus book or take a physics book and just sit down and try to read quietly. And so basically that fundamental sciences are like medicine for human brain. And of course, I just want to reiterate, with this computational availability, which you just mentioned, Abhishek, it is essential that computational technologies contribute to the betterment of life for everybody on the planet. I'm an idealist, I'm a professor, and maybe some may think that I may be even naive, but I like to think that nobody is poor, nobody suffers, nobody is discriminated, because we as educators, we are, as scholars, we are like brothers and sisters, and we are learning from each other. And even if you are a student, I maybe just little bit soon, I was born maybe a little bit sooner than you are, but I don't think I'm more important or even much smarter. I'm just humble learner. I'm learning, I'm exploring, I continue developing. And this is what is essential, that we create platforms where all these wonderful children, all over the planet, they can grow, they can become wonderful people, they can become smart people, and they can become educated and trained people, so they will master technology. So technology will never become a master of humanity, but humanity will continue to master the technology. In other words, technology must never, ever mechanize the human relationships. Technology must and should always only contribute to the betterment of mankind. In other words, we have to make sure that we are pushing technological evolution far faster and to the cutting edge and next horizons. But at the same time, we also have to have professional and ethical boundaries. We have to make sure that that technology is not harming, like free robotic laws, that technology protects innocent, old, vulnerable, weak people. So that is, of course, that is something that we have to be reminded of as educators, because we are all scholars, educators, teachers, and so this is fundamentally. But again, I'm so glad, I'm grateful, most grateful, Abhishek, for organizing and bringing this wonderful consortium together. And I almost regret we couldn't have a chance, because I see colleagues, as you mentioned, from other parts of the world, and depending on the time frame, for some may be too late, for some it may be too soon. but it is, we are like farmers. And Abhishek, you are a good farmer too. We are farmers. We are farming ideas. We're planting ideas, seeds in the minds of people, and these seeds will grow in wonderful trees, and that will create wonderful world for everybody. So I remain to be a passionate educator and a most humble scholar, and most grateful, Abhishek, for this session. And want to extend my greetings to everybody who attended or who is joining this session. And I want to say, give my warmest regards to your families, to your friends, to your schoolmates, teachers, because remember, we are all like brothers and sisters, and we have to learn and be open-minded and willing to be humble and to learn, because technology will surpass us. As soon as we consider ourselves that we are masters of the subject, it might be too late. So they always reminded that we have just started to explore that wonderful world of technology. So thank you, Abhishek, and thank you, everyone, and wishing you, wherever you are, good night or wonderful day or good morning, whatever. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sayonara.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot, sir. we have no words to thank you, and we are really obliged by your presence and looking at your charm and enthusiasm about the technology and all those and the benefit of this society. So probably I would be very much glad, and all our participants would be very much glad to raise a request to have, and as per your convenient time, maybe this month, next year, to interact again, so that we can have more interaction and discussion with you. And I can say still there are a lot of questions and acknowledgements are coming onto the chats. So that is, I have actually no words to oblige you with for your time and your expertise. So thank you, sir, and thanks a very lot again, and to our all participants also who had attended this session and patiently listened and gained expertise from the professor. Thank you, sir. Thanks again, and thank you, and would be love to connect again.
We'll do that. We'll do that. Thank you. And
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for the wonderful session.
Bye. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Professor.
Okay. Disconnecting. You're welcome. You're most welcome.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You get a lot of time to learn, sir.
Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup. Danke schön.
Thank you, sir.
Spasiba.
Babalok, sir, can I have your email account and phone number in the chat box?
Yes. Abhishek will share with you my email.
Sure, sir.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Abhishek. I want your mail ID and phone number also.
Very well.
Abhishek, sir.
Sure, sir. Would be connecting with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You have
It was a fun session.
my
Thank
phone
you.
number and mail
Yes,
ID.
sir. Yes, we do have.
Will do.
Babalok, sir, namaskar. Namaste.
Yeah, I'm like a captain, I wait for everybody to disconnect.
I'm with you.
I feel
I'm there with you as a co-pilot, a co-captain.
we have to stay on board and make sure that all the passengers.
Exactly. They got deported. They get deported easily.
Yes.
So I'm waiting with you.
I think
Yes,
I think everyone is staying back.
Yeah,
It's a great chance to have another session right now.
Yeah, but if there is, and we'll continue. And again, I really hope very much that we just, as I say, we just open a new channel of communication.
Thank you.
Sir, we have one inquiry. Do you want to take it now?
Sure. If there is a question, it's okay. I'm okay. We can have a couple of questions. No trouble.
But Utkarsh, you have raised your hand. Do you have any question?
Yes, sir. So first of all, good evening and thank you for such a wonderful and informative session. Sir, I am a second-year student of GLA University, Mathura, and sir, I am asking the guidance about how should I pursue my career and path in AI/ML field. So can you please enlighten me?
Yeah. So first of all, what is your background? Like, what do you study? What is the subject of your studies?
So actually, I am pursuing BTech in CS and specialized in AI/ML, artificial intelligence and machine learning.
Excellent.
And so yes, sir. So I am asking for guidance. How should I pursue my career? How should I do betterment for humans and for others as well? Like there is future scope in AI in automating many things, and AI also help in cyber security, as you have told us in this session. And so I would like to do some research and for the betterment of others as well. So I am asking for the guidance. How should I pursue my career, or how should I pursue these things? So can one day I can be helpful to others as well. Thank you so much.
Well, I think your question may resonate with many other colleagues, so I will try to kind of give you a little bit of guidance. First of all, look at one of the most greatest assets that you have, that you are a young person. So we have a lot of time to develop your career. And, don't worry much yourself, how soon you become successful. but be more concerned about the journey that you take to your success. And that journey defines and will make you who you will become in years to come. In other words, now you have a good degree, computer science. Make sure that every project that you do, that you start to think, because you already have a good fundamental base of computer science and maybe engineering and business. So look around you and say, okay, my mom using this particular bank, or my father. And we go to that particular, we bought the car and we go to hospital. So wherever you live in your community, it may be small village, it may be Delhi, it may be New York, London, doesn't matter. But you have on every corner opportunities to apply your computer science knowledge. If you see, for example, that you go home and you see a bridge and that bridge is beginning to corroding, you say, well, eventually that bridge may even fall down and some people may get injured, or God forbid, seriously injured. So maybe you should think of maybe some apply research. Say, maybe we could set up some sensors, maybe some videos and monitor, and maybe start the maintenance or restructure. And of course, these examples are in every field of life. In medical field, in transportation, even in school. If you say, okay, I have found myself not very productive learner, or I see my colleague next to me, my student mate, he or she is not learning, or maybe it's more difficult for her, for him. So you can become a mentor. You can start helping other people. And by helping other people, you're actually helping yourself, because you're developing. And so that is important, that you continue to learn. And of course, if you've taken calculus and you take some mathematical books, so I encourage you to maybe go back and look at probability and look at some stochastic processes and look at some financial mathematics, even if it's not in your curriculum. But you need to always keep learning advanced mathematics, advanced calculus. Because what people don't appreciate, and we didn't have time, but the AI is actually mathematics. That is something that, there's so much of Bayesian models and probabilistic and predictive models. So decision science. So and again, don't take 10 subjects, just learn one at a time and keep learning. And make sure that you're making steady step by step. If you look at my LinkedIn profile, I wrote, I think, my philosophical thought on journey to success. So journey to success, it doesn't mean that it will happen tomorrow. I am a little bit, well, I don't say older. I don't like that word old. I just say I was born a little bit sooner than you. And even in my case, I consider greatest success in my own career, not the diplomas, not the honors, but the journey I took on becoming who I am. And so that journey, who you are going to become, your colleagues and every young person, every colleague on the planet, is essential. That you are living well, that you are helping, that you're kind, that you're also very smart, that you're also very savvy, that you keep learning. And then also look at opportunities. Say, you have a degree and you say, okay, I want to become AI expert. So, and you already have some knowledge of AI in already basic tools. So maybe go to company of your choice and don't ask for job. Say, I'm not applying for job. I would like to help you to develop a system that will make your company more secure. You see, it's a diplomacy. So that is the next level of thinking, when you are not asking for a job, but you basically giving opportunity to potential employer to invite you to get a job. So because, job, anybody can apply for job, but is that 100% guarantee that you will contribute, that you will build something? So you always have to look at wherever you go, you want to build something. You want to be part of team. You want to be part of creative team. And so that creativity, that contribution is essential. And of course, with this, you're learning, you continue learning, and don't be naive when you graduate and you get a bachelor, master, PhD, or whatever degree, that this is the end of learning. No. If you do it right, you will discover that you are just at the very beginning of learning. And of course, that incremental learning and that, of course, applied learning, that you can find a small project in the village. You can find a small project on your street. You can find no project in the local community, whatever. But you're always looking for opportunity to say, okay, I study computer science. How could I possibly help? Even bakers in the bakery. Of course, the bakeries, they have to have oven and they have to have proportion and all these things. So maybe you can develop small information system for them. Maybe you can improve information system for the travel agent. Maybe you can improve information system for, local logistics, how the agricultural sector, you can connect agriculture with the food production. And so the application of computer science or applied AI, it's ubiquitous. And so these people who will understand and who will be able to apply and innovate and to connect problems with solutions, these are future Bill Gates. And you may be just one of them. You don't even know it. But when you become Bill Gates and you become billionaire, I like to remind you, one Ferrari for Abhishek and maybe a small Ferrari in blue color for me, please. Because, you will be billionaire, so never mind, And of course.
Thank you so very much, sir, for such a great guidance and tips, sir. I really appreciate, sir. Thank you, sir.
So
they
remember,
would be waiting for the Ferrari, actually, Utkarsh.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Sure.
Abhishek, please tell him the color, because color is most important, hey, on Ferrari.
Yes, sir. Sure, sir.
True, very true, sir.
But, dreaming is essential, because if you have a dream, it means that this is your dream. So you also have potential to make it happen. So don't let nobody ever, under no circumstances, to take your dream from you and your hopes and your ambitions. But be ambitious, be dreamful, but ethically, humanly. And so you grow, and with you, your community grow, your teachers grow, and everybody will see that, you are a person that is helping, building, because, life is a journey, and there is a beginning and there is also an end, but that end could be yet a new beginning. And so think about just taking your time and being open-minded and being to learn. And also don't be afraid of failures, because you may fail. I have failed many times, but every time we fail, we have to be reminded that if we are able to stand up, we become stronger, because we're learning from our own failures. So don't be afraid if people say, and if anybody says, oh, I don't think you can make it, you say, well, I'm sorry to disappoint you. Yeah? But of course, don't jump before you leap. So be humble, be graceful, and learn and look forward and work with your teachers, work with your masters, and help your masters, listen to them, and they will listen you back. So it is all about that, learning and applying, and also being a good son, being a good daughter, being a good brother, good sister. It's husband, wife, a citizen, because we are all citizens of the blue planet Earth. I don't like to think that, this country or other country. I have traveled around the globe many, many, many times. And when people ask me today, Professor Babulak, where are you from? I did answer, years back, I said, I gave them my chronology. But then I realized, no, I don't have to do that. So I say today, if you ask me where I'm from, I say, I'm from blue planet Earth. That's where I'm from. So
thank you, sir, for a great advice and philosophy you have given us, sir.
Dr. Abhishek, just last, I just want to appreciate to Dr. Babulak, his way of thinking, though he's a man who was born and brought up from at US, but he's following all the conditions what we Indians are doing. In Sanskrit, we have the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. All earth is our family. And second thing, that we must respect to our parents. And third thing, sir, which our Honorable Prime Minister is saying, Mr. Modi, that don't look for the job, be the entrepreneur. I was just, as I said, that I'm there till you are there, because I am your co-pilot.
Thank you.
I will be there.
I think, Professor, there are many
Okay.
co-pilots onto the board, so I would request you to please sign off.
Okay, sir.
People are still waiting for your advice and more valuable words.
We can do a couple of more. Let's go. Keep going. I have my coffee. I have my coffee here. I have my jar of coffee. Don't worry.
Okay.
Your enthusiasm is at par and no match.
No, next question, please. If anybody has questions, it's okay. It's okay.
Satyam Chaudhary is having some doubt, I think. Satyam, please.
Trial.
Yes, hello.
Satyam, do you have any
Trial.
question?
Yeah, there might be some communication. Yeah.
Yes, might be so.
Mhm. He can write you chat question, and then you can tell me or you can ask me.
Trial.
Probably there is some noise and communication glitch.
Ask him to send a question in the chat, and you can ask me then to write the question.
All right. Probably left the call.
Okay.
So I see no more questions from the audience.
What time is it now, Abhishek, where you are? What time is it?
It's 10 p.m. Around 10 p.m.
It's quite late. Yeah, it's quite. So I understand. So very well. So again, everybody, thank you so much for your questions, for your contributions, and I enjoyed the conversation, and I look forward to follow up on our discussion. Thank you, Abhishek. Wishing you good night. Have plenty of rest, and hopefully tomorrow will be a sunny day, and you may have a. It's like this, comes, spark your mind, and we go to Stockholm for Nobel Prize.
Great. Have a good day, sir. And pleasures are all us. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Very well. Thank you. Good night. Good night, and bye-bye, everybody. I'm disconnecting. Bye.
Bye-bye, sir. Thank you. Bye-bye, sir.